go ahead.
It's now 4:35, and for technical reasons, we're starting a little bit late. But I call the meeting of the Oregon City Library Board to order. Maureen.
So Nancy's making copies of our agenda, which did not get, the documentation didn't get loaded. So we're streaming our meeting, but we're not able to see our documents. So that's
Okay.
all very weird. I apologize about that.
For technology.
We're
adaptable.
We're going to fire Kelly. That's what we're
No,
doing.
no.
Yeah, I know. No, that's right. We're not. So anyway, the first thing is the approval of the library board minutes. And since I did send you all this ahead of time,
we read those.
maybe we can go ahead and...
Are there any comments on the meetings or the minutes as you read? I have a motion to approve them as you saw them. I move motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's passed.
Great. All right. The second thing on our agenda is citizen comments.
Yes. Any citizen comments?
Seeing none.
Seeing
I
none.
have addendum to the last meeting regarding citizen comments. I had sent an email to Ginger Shergun, who had come to us presenting a book in question regarding her children. And I got a response back saying, "Thank you again, Dan, for your encouragement and support. I thoroughly enjoy the little education of seeing a bit behind the scenes and some of what keeps our library going. I thoroughly enjoy. I've heard and value, also to be heard and valued, and to feel like I could make a small difference was refreshing. It was a good lesson for me to be brave and to step out and try and make a change for the better when I feel strongly convicted. Thank you for serving our community well."
Nice.
Ginger.
Thank you.
Very, very nice. So just to follow up on this is a good time for me, if you don't mind me interjecting, what we've done at the library. First of all, we rearranged our graphic novels. So instead of being on the outside of these shelves over here facing the children's section, they're facing in or over on against the wall. So they're more very clearly YA. And then we put up signs on the column over here and on the column over here, big signs like this that are like YA. So it's a little bit more clear about that. And then Jenny Chamberlain, one of our fantastic staff, has created a little brochure that gives parents a little bit of information about what the difference is between YA and children's,
Sure.
and some selection tools.
We're all
So
about
that if they
education.
want to
That's
investigate by either online or book form, they can jump in and they know there's help. And as always, she's got the thing, just ask us. We are willing to help you. So I feel like we've kind of addressed a little bit that we can kind of in that space.
Mo, one thing that I found is that when I talk to people not in the library world, many of them don't know what YA means.
Yeah. And it,
So if the signs just say YA, I'm
yeah, well, I
not
can't
sure.
remember. What does it say? No. You know what it says? It says teen zone.
Good.
Yeah, and then in this handout, we like define, YA, young adult,
Yeah.
what this is,
Right.
kind of the age range and stuff, because that's, where that education piece comes in. Because you're so right. It's like, oh my God, another acronym. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, hi,
Or
can you join us?
I can. I just really, you sent me an email and I was going to
You can just come tomorrow. Yeah, that'll be fine.
I think I'll sit in for a little bit.
Okay, sure. Welcome. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda, since
Yes.
you don't have an agenda,
It's not.
Can I take
Sorry.
a guess?
is library director report.
Maureen, do you have our library director report?
Yeah, oh, this is awesome.
Yes, they're awesome.
Okay. Okay.
Have fun.
Get hold sets of them.
Thank you, dear.
And then,
Nice action.
Kathy, you can have our originals here.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, Claire, you got
I had
copies of
printed
everything?
them at home, so I think I got them.
Oh, great. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. So we had a little technological glitch on loading the documentation, but we're all good now. So statistically speaking, we're hanging right in there. We're very consistent. Our programs are doing quite well, and I guess I know that you got this ahead of time, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. But I would simply point out that the first line on the actual statistics page you know, the one with the numbers. The door count, we're like almost 25,000 ahead of where we were last year, which amazes me. I know. I sure hope the door counter's working right.
Kids playing in and out.
Huh?
Kids playing in and out.
I know, right? You never know. But the attendance at our children's program is like 900 more than last year. So, I mean, these things add up, you know, so anyway. So programs last month went really well. The film series, we finished that up March 1st with like 35 people watching a movie about dirt. I thought that was pretty good. It was pretty good, you know, it really was. It was very interesting, and it was timely since it's kind of the gardening time of the year and stuff. So that was pretty good. So we committed to doing a series again next year, which we will meet in April to discuss that. We don't know quite what that'll look like because we know some of the first Fridays are already taken over at the Pioneer Center, already reserved. So, you know, we're looking for like a snappy, you know, title that says something like almost always first Fridays, but not quite so long. You know, so anyway.
Can you talk to us about the patron registrations being down 657? Does that mean anything?
We're saturating the market.
Patron registrations, you know, that.
Is that a bogus number?
Where is that on here?
Well, it's on the first February statistical report towards the bottom down here.
Oh, patron registrations, yeah. They have been trying to do a much better job of like getting rid of and weeding all the patron registrations that have had no activity, and all it takes is like 2 years of no activity and you're booted.
See?
And so that actually does fluctuate quite a bit.
Okay.
That number. So I wouldn't really hold a lot of store with that.
How about your total receipts, your collected fines? Is that an economic indicator, or is that just you have a lot of money standing out there?
You know, we do well some months, and yeah, and that total receipt thing at the very end never like quite comes up right.
You guys had the fine reduction.
Yeah, we collected a lot of money. We do that holiday, half off for the holidays. We collect a lot of money at then. People really love that idea, half off. They really take care of a lot of outstanding things. Yeah, awesome. That's great.
Yeah, when birthday time comes around, same thing.
But you know, we don't collect quite as much as we did up in the old place for whatever reason. I don't really know why. You know, it's just a few thousand. It's not like this huge amount of money, so it doesn't really impact us. But it is not quite the same. And
Maybe it's more convenient to return things on time.
well, you know, maybe so. The other thing, though, now that you mentioned that, is that the fact that we don't take Visa cards and debit cards, I find myself like kind of like, let's see, what century are we in?
Yeah, that's not
And
good.
so after budget season's over with, Wyatt and Maria have promised to help us do something about that.
Oh, good.
So
Very
that's
good.
kind of on target, you know.
I have one other question along that same line, and I don't carry any cards with me. And I finally took a picture of my library card on my phone. But they can't use it. I have to do it myself, like to do movies and stuff. Is there going to be anything where we're looking at an application that we can use for our library card?
So instead of carrying a card, you just have a phone thing?
I have a house with punch numbers, and I don't carry anything.
Yeah, I don't carry a lot of those either. So I'm great with the self-check where we can use that, but we need to discuss that more. It's like always kind of an ID thing that starts coming up. Like, we just don't really like people using other people's cards, and it's so easy to like do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
with a phone?
Yeah, or memorize a number or whatever.
But
you
she
know.
has a picture of
I
it.
got my pictures on the phone. You can look at me.
My Starbucks card is on
Right.
my phone,
That
and they
seems
swipe
That's
it and I
exactly
pay.
what, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Can you write that down so we can look at
Yeah,
it?
we might be behind the curve electronically there, huh?
We are.
Oh, yeah.
We are. Yeah.
Really weird. You have barcode scan technology on the phone allows you to check the book out right at the thing. You don't even have to take it out to a
Oh, I like that.
checkout location.
Check it as you go.
Where's
Yeah,
that?
he's like, I like this book. Dink. So
And
am I.
this is it at a bookstore?
No, I'm just
for the
saying,
library.
you know,
Oh, if we
there-
did, yeah.
you know, just hook in some sort of programming to link from say Redcode or something.
Be interesting.
So if you have a programmer who would like to do that, that would be awesome.
I have several
would-
programmer friends, but I don't think that
I
that's
would
time
like
for it.
to. I would
So
accept
a lot
that
of
service
libraries.
as a volunteer service.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Are there complaints about the inconsistency, about the fact that with the self-check, you know, I don't have my card, I just go and do my number, and then if it's out of order, then I can't, you know, they don't allow me to check out.
It's not usually out of order anymore. It's a brand
No,
new
it hasn't
one.
been for a long time, but anyway,
Yeah.
you know, people, it's
Well,
like two standards there.
This is like one reason we made sure that's not out of order anymore. Yeah. So we spent a bunch of money on that new one.
And
They're
it's,
expensive.
no, it works great.
Yeah.
It does work. I like
Yeah.
that thing.
Yeah. I use it occasionally just to make sure it's still working. Yeah. So that hasn't really come up.
You don't have people complain. Okay, good.
Yeah. No. Let's see here. I had some notes about some other things. I did want to let you know that we had one restriction in March. This is not on the report because I completely forgot. It's the first restriction that I've done since I've been here. And it's kind of interesting because we actually had the pieces in place. We just hadn't used them. And so it took me...
Person restricted from the library, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. And so it took me a little while to like get to the point of saying to myself, you need to make a decision on this and restrict this person. And so we went ahead and did that, and it was really pretty interesting because I looked around at what other people kind of do for length of restrictions and stuff, and I just decided to go with 3 months because it was his first restriction, and you know, he's basically just a sad alcoholic who nonetheless acted very inappropriately. And so we wrote it up, and I called the police, and I said, you know, we'd really feel a lot better if you could hand this to him instead of us, because he's gotten kind of aggressive in the past. And they were like, sure, just let us know when he's there. And I'm like, okay. And, you know, Officer Bill, Claire, and who's the other one? Not Mike, but anyway.
Jim Band.
Huh?
Jim Band.
Yeah, Jim Band. He like gave me their cell phone numbers and everything, so I could just call them directly, and I just felt like really supported. It was awesome. So then I walk into the reference room to tell the reference librarian that we, you know, have this plan and blah blah blah, and she's like, "Well, that's so interesting. He's here right now." And so while I'm going to call Officer Band, the funny thing is, the patron kind of like figured out something was up and left. So I called Jim, and I'm like, he left. And, well, describe him. And then I'm like, oh, my God, you know, this is like TV. I wasn't paying any attention, you know. Sue, what does he look like? You know, so anyway, they found him. It was so great because they found him, and they served him, and he hasn't been back, and it's just perfect because we just felt so supported by the police, you know, during that whole episode. And because it stresses us out. Because first of all, we have to deal with the behavior, and then we have to like actually kick somebody out of the library. It's hard on librarians to restrict people from a public building. That's like the last thing we want to do. But you can't let people get away with things that are really inappropriate, like threatening staff. You know, it was pretty bad.
Can you go over what the steps were taken? Did you first, you know, someone complained, then you talked to him, and
Well, it had kind of, he had 2 incident reports written up on him over the course of like 2 different days. And so, you know, we have an incident report form, and the first time one of our staff, you know, helped him leave. And the second time, staff actually had to call the police, but he left before they got there, I believe. Anyway, and so it was like at that point, though, when I looked at the incident report and saw what he had done, I was like, you know, we just can't let this guy come back, and we're waiting for an accident to happen. We have to like say, no, that was inappropriate, and we don't want you coming back to the library for a certain period of time. And so that's when I went ahead and made a decision about what to restrict him and what it would be, and then wrote up the appropriate paperwork. So I mean, we had all the pieces in place. We have all the paperwork
did he
that's
have
been.
warnings, however, is what I'm wondering?
Oh yeah,
Oh, he had warnings.
Oh,
He'd
yeah.
do it, and then you...
Told him it was not appropriate.
yeah, yeah. And you know, like he comes a lot, and a lot of the time
Yeah.
he's fine.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing, we don't know, but So you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but after a while you can't. So I always wanted to let you know about that.
It was in the paper, too.
The restriction?
It was in the police log.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great. So you already heard about it. That's awesome, yeah.
Well, and I had a question from staff, and I said, we did approve a policy that allowed exclusion.
You got a
but-
question? You got a question from staff?
Yeah, but wasn't sure about, well, they know my background.
Okay, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, remember 32 years in parole and probation, and most of them know it. But I was interested in how long the process actually does take, because
It really
he's
did
not
not
an-
take that long.
Yeah, he's not an isolated case, but it's also, if that had been a more serious incident, of course, the police probably could have caught them.
Well,
But-
yeah, the thing is that we don't need a restriction to take care of a problem. All staff has to do is like pick up the phone and call the police. You know what I mean? And it's like they should feel empowered to do that. And if they don't, then we need to keep talking, and we will keep talking because, like I said, a lot of these things they don't happen often enough for us to feel comfortable with them. And so when they do happen, well, like if you lived in Eugene or you worked in downtown Portland, you'd be very comfortable with it. And I was comfortable with it when I got here because I worked in downtown Eugene, but staff here generally is not. And so we have to go through a spaz out phase first, of how do we deal with this again, kind of thing. And even me, and I was going, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be the one who is comfortable with this stuff. Well, after 3.5 years, you're not, you haven't dealt with it for a while. So we just had to kind of get our training wheels back on and go through the motions, and then it was good. Then it's yep, this is what we do. We feel supported. We know we can make a decision. Blah blah blah. So it was kind of entertaining in a way. It was definitely educational. So I wanted to let you guys know that
I like the
happened.
training wheels metaphor.
Yeah. And then upcoming in April is the OLA, Oregon Library Association Conference, and this year they're having it with WLA, Washington Library Association. Every 5 to 8 years they do this. We never really like it as much as when it's just us, because we have to do some of the things their way, and so anyway, I just want to let you know I'll be going for the whole thing, and we're sending staff to, we're sending 4 staff to 2 pre-conferences, and one of the pre-conferences is all about security. And so just to follow up on some of this stuff.
I was thinking about that as you were talking about, because part of staff's responsibility is sort of protecting the public. Yeah, besides
Absolutely.
themselves. So there's
Yeah.
that helps motivate to understand. Well, I'm actually, I'm doing. Yes, there's in a personal front, but publicly, I'm helping, and I am curious about policy regarding more serious situations, as we've had more and more come to light in public spaces. So I think that's great to have staff go and be aware of the steps to take.
Yeah, and so those guys are going to come back and educate everybody else.
Especially because with the Carnegie, just the 2 separate spaces, whoever's downstairs is fairly isolated.
They are fairly isolated. There is a panic button in
Oh, good.
the reference room and in the children's area.
That's excellent. Okay.
Yeah,
That's very good.
yeah. So Sue wanted training on it. I said, just start pushing buttons.
Just hit
I don't know, just push buttons.
You
Anyway.
should test and make sure it works too,
Well, we
because it
should
turned
test
out
it.
like Oswego, it wasn't working.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we didn't. You always thought it was there.
Good tip there. Good tip. Real world tips from real world librarians. I love it. Yeah. So any other questions on the statistical report? Okay. So, you want to keep going, Mr. Chairman?
I do.
Okay.
It'd be the Friends of the Oregon City Library report.
No. Wait. I have about 6 items.
Oh,
I'm
I
the
see.
library director.
I see.
We're still on
We're
me,
at
yeah.
draft budget presentation.
Well, you skipped one. The library
Library
board
board
report to the commission.
Okay.
That was supposed to be on last month's agenda, and I don't remember discussing it.
No, the
Nope.
Friends report.
No.
The board has. Did I report? Oh, I guess I did a short one last year.
Yeah. So the library board needs to make a report to the city commission at some point in time.
Okay.
And I would imagine that our illustrious chair would be the person to do it if he so agrees.
Shall do.
And we need to, you talk about, I mean, we could talk about what's on it. You and I could just get together and talk about that.
Let's do that.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. We don't have a date, so don't worry, there's no rush, right, Kathy? It just needs to happen.
No rush.
Yeah, okay, good. No pressure, Don.
Thank you.
So now, draft budget presentation. So
There.
now you do have a copy of
Yes.
the budget. Let me get to it in here. And so you have two things. You have a 3-page document, which is the expenses, and then you have a 1-page document, which is the revenue. And the thing I want to point out to you with the revenue is, in addition to this revenue, this is just district revenue. In addition to this, we have the capital revenue that the city always funds to us as well. So that's 200,000 plus. You know, right around that 20. I think last year it was like 208 or something like that. 205, 208. So that goes straight into our reserve, but that does factor into the mix at that level. Okay, so so next year, now this is the start of our biennium. So we're doing
2 years out.
2 years out, 13-14 and 14-15. So I got an estimate of our income for next year from the county, and you can see that it's the first line up on the 1-page revenue document, and it's $1,770,000. So it's actually, they estimate that that's going to go up about $40,000, and which is great. Our highest that we've received is $1,780,000, I think. That sounds about right. So we took a little dip, and hopefully we're getting back to where we were. And then we just use the same figure for the next year because we don't know what it's going to do. You know, that's hard to really guesstimate on that.
That's based on population, is it not?
That is based on, a really tricky formula that's partially population and partially not population. Yeah. Because we got the in-city and the out-of-city, and it's like this crazy little formula. So, so that's the revenue side, and then on the expenditure side, since you can look at the revised, the middle column is the revised 2012-13, you can see that a lot of the figures are really the same as this year. We did not change that many things because we find them to be sufficient. And the things we have changed, there's some notes on the far right-hand column. So if you go down to the 350 area, there's some ones. I don't know why there's two. Oh, it's the same note. That's why it's directing you to the same note. So under equipment under 5,000 and computer equipment under 5,000, we want to keep those fairly robust because we need to replace a lot of computers, and we have a lot of technology in that building, and we want to be sure that we're can keep it as fresh as possible. It's expensive. You know, the computers that we get from the network are generally well over $2,000 to replace, and that's all the ones that we use in the computer area and some of the staff ones. And then some of the staff ones it depends if they're loaded with, if it's for circulation, then it comes from the county, the network office. If it's like my laptop that doesn't need all that stuff, then it's different. It's crazy how it's split up. But anyway, we wanted to make sure those were pretty robust. So that's what that money is for.
I'm going to pick it up.
Are you saying? Yeah, no. I might start dancing.
That's all right.
Okay.
It'll shut up.
And then on the next page, under 381, there's a 2, which refers to note number 2. And one of them is, we had put $200,000 aside for technical services. That's set aside. I know that's like a library term, so Laura's looking at me. But what that is for is if we start doing building work, we want a pile of money available to start paying architects and that kind of.
I'm thinking processing books.
I know, right?
I'm like,
we
wow.
want to spend $200,000 on processing books. Yeah.
I want a pile of money too.
Yeah. So,
Scrooge McDuck.
we have generally put $200,000 aside for that a year because we haven't known when this is going to start. But since the commission has made a commitment to make a site selection before the end of this calendar year, we wanted to beef it up a little bit because we expect to like actually spend some money. And so we put 50,000 more in it this year, and then we went back to 200,000 for the following year. So we'll just see how that all pans out. It's there. You know, this money, the great thing about it, it just rolls over, and we can either leave it in contingency or we can commit it to the capital reserve fund when it's extra.
I have a question on schools, training, et cetera. Since we're emphasizing keeping up to date technologically with e-readers and computers, are we also shoveling some funds over for staff training to help us with that? Because I know your staff is very good at.
Yeah, some of the training actually, a lot of the training these days is on webinars. A bunch of it is free, and some of it is local in the consortium, which is great. But yeah, Don, do you see a number for that? What number that is?
A number would be, just a minute here.
371.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. I think that's probably enough, but we could look at that.
Yeah, well, I was just
You're
saying.
just asking, yeah.
With all this emphasis on, phones that do everything, we ought to have staff that kind of know about that too. So
Yeah.
I don't know, just an idea.
Okay. Very good. Yes.
A question regarding like the books to go thing. Does that fall under ebooks or
Yeah.
electronic resources or whatever? I'm just curious as to, is it a licensing issue regarding those ebooks? Those books to go books?
Yeah, there's a lot of licensing issues with ebooks. We are part of a statewide consortium for ebooks, and we get all our titles through that. But we have committed as a local consortium to pool a bunch more money so that our patrons within Clackamas County have a better selection of ebooks. But basically, we have we go through this one service, and then we buy a few others that are kind of more like reference titles that sit separately.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what that is.
Yeah.
And
Those were actually purchased.
Yeah. Yeah, the question it's kind of a roundabout way of looking at it. I mean, I'm trying to use that a little bit more. I'm kind of on a self-perpetuating reading process that I'm trying to get certain books by a given author, and some of them I see are available on ebook, and I was like, okay, I'd like to get that, but I'm finding the timing is kind of rough.
and the availability. And that's what, that's one reason we've decided to pool our money so that we can get more titles that are just available through our own little platform. And so when you would put in your card number at a certain point, you'd be identified
Oh, you're a
as one
Clackamas
of,
County guy. Boom.
yeah, and then you'd have more titles hopefully. So we'll see how that works. We're going to be centrally selecting those, and what they're going to select them by is the number of holds on things, and then get more copies of those things. So we'll see.
Cheryl Strait, I was number 504
Huh?
at the hold list. And then I was in the library and I saw the book and I thought, I could check out a book.
Whoa.
I know that old technology. It really works well sometimes.
to go see her.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had one that I was one of one, and you wait 2-3 weeks, and then
That's
it shows
weird,
up and it's
isn't
like I got the paper book before I've got
know.
the ebook.
I know.
And I'm 56 for the unabridged Les Mis.
Wow. So the
Which
ebook
really surprised
the
me.
ebook thing, which is really hard to understand because it's supposedly virtual, is a one-to-one checkout, just like a book. And I think it's absolute insanity. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, know.
For licensing purposes, that's the way they have to do
Yeah,
it.
well, and also for a business model, they have to make money,
Yeah.
So at some point in time, that may all get a little bit figured out
It's like,
better, but
yeah. I mean, in the back of my brain, it's going, it's all ones and zeros anyways.
I know, right? Yeah,
And it's a library.
I know, right?
And you could be reading it out loud to 10 people. A paper book, so see, 11 people should go.
I know. It's crazy.
Mo, there's a note down here on 452.
Uh-huh.
It says adult programs, please change name. What does that mean? I'm just jerking
Children
your
and teen
chain.
program.
I'm just curious.
It does say adult
What was
programs,
that
please
from?
change name.
Oh, so the teen and children says that too.
I don't remember.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for pointing
It does sound rather questionable.
adult programs, yeah, adult-only programs. I think that's what we're going to
There
change
we
it to.
go.
How's that?
Okay, so
Yeah.
I have a question, and I'm not a whiz at reading budgets. I usually need somebody to hold my hand and take me line by line.
All right, Dan, hold her hand.
But am I actually, or speak Wimmerese to me, I got good
Oh,
at it.
God, no.
It was my understanding that when the district went into effect, we would continue to receive general fund monies from the city. I thought that $750 to building reserve was city money.
No.
That
Well,
was,
it might be, no.
so we haven't received any direct support from the city since
Yeah.
2010. Where's it coming in? I'm not seeing it in the income.
I don't think that's included. I think it goes right from its reserve into the capital reserve thing. So you're not seeing a statement for the reserve.
Okay, so then since we're not projecting the building reserve in 2013 and 2014, does that mean the city will not be providing any direct support?
They plan on continuing, as far as I know, they plan on continuing to provide that $200,000, but it's in a completely different fund thing.
Okay, it doesn't reflect in here at all, though.
No.
So it's just, okay. Oh, it's a different line? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but really great question.
Because there was a strong agreement that the library district would not remove the city from having to provide some support. We wanted to keep that commitment.
We really want to keep that commitment, especially since not all the cities are keeping that commitment.
Yeah, that's
So,
why.
As long as we can with Oregon City, we definitely want to
Okay.
hold their feet to the
So
fire.
I'm going to have to look at the book and find it.
Yeah. When I get the book, I'll show you.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So there's one more note. What you'll down below around 540 and 550, you'll see like big chunks of money, $150,000 and $50,000. And you may recall from previous years that in addition to the big chunk up above of $200,000, I was trying to create this like pool of money that I wasn't necessarily spending today, but would go into the building, and then in the future would be kind of like that chunk of money that I could count on to do our annual bond payment. So like, because I am pulling $400,000 out of my budget every year now, I knew I could do it then in the future, right? Am I making sense to
Are we
everybody?
not going to have
Okay.
needs in those areas, though?
No, what I'm saying is that so that's kind of a manipulation, not a manipulation, what's the right word for it? It's like, it's in a budget line that I may
Protection.
not end up spending.
It's a placeholder.
It's a placeholder. So the finance department, now that it's different people that I'm talking with, we may decide to, if we really don't think we're going to spend that money in these next 2 years, put that money just in the reserve account now. Instead of, so you would see it on a different line. You would see it maybe down here under 954 instead of up here in this placeholder. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It still is going to be the same bottom number and everything, but, so I'm going to be talking to Wyatt and Maria about that.
Well, and even with those expenditures, you're building a healthy contingency.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I just wanted to kind of, you may see those in different columns in the future, is all, or different line, or whatever they call those things. So are there any other questions? Because I reviewed this just with David Frazier this week for the first time, had a couple conversations with Wyatt and Maria, who are absolutely awesomely great to work with. We love it. Ask really good questions. And now you guys, and then, this is like great time to change anything. And then the meetings are not until late March or April that we go in front of the budget committee. So, good.
So
And
there's
since we-
nothing required of us today?
No, I'll just go, because since nothing really has changed, I mean, the amounts that have changed are very, very small.
Okay.
And then on the personnel side, of course, it's just all what they feed me. And then we still have money out of our district money. I mean, we have enough income to cover our costs. So, seems like we're in pretty good shape. Okay? Onward?
Strategic plan and mission.
All right. So this is this document here. You may recall that I started pestering you folks with creating a strategic plan long ago in the form of, let's do a survey, let's find out what people want, blah, 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 blah. Well, the goal was not just to find out what people want, but also to come up with a strategic plan. And because we didn't really have like a current one. So we have kind of put everything together and created something that we think is like pretty simple and pretty straightforward. And I need you guys to give it your blessing. Because what I'd like to do is publish it and put it on the website and share it with staff again. And I've already run it by David Frazier. And I don't think anything in the goals is too far astray of what we're doing. I just really needed a document that had more than we need a new building. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I really needed to have a document that addressed the whole parameter and scope of library services. So we tried to do that. And the other thing I really want to ask you guys is, we really hate our mission. Not that we think it's bad.
I like the new possible one.
But, so I listed on
like
page
that.
4 a new possible one, and I'm wondering, like, what do you think of it? And could we, like, approve that too?
I really like it.
I move to accept the thing as is,
Second. No, as is or as proposed?
as
Didn't
proposed.
we work
Second.
on that first one not that long ago?
Just a minute, we have a
Nothing
motion
mission.
and a second to approve the new possible mission. All right, now we can discuss. All right.
It was before my time.
I thought we had, maybe it wasn't the mission that we were talking about, all these, how to
No,
say,
we
guiding principles.
We did the guiding principles is what we worked on.
I really like the possible new mission. I like the way you have the 3 words and the 3 words: the information with empower, inspiration with enrich, and ideas that educate. And I really like it a lot.
I like
It's
the
to
idea of the
point,
service
sums it up.
area as opposed to our
Balanced.
community
It's
too,
balanced.
which makes it more broad. Yeah.
Great.
So
I'm a genius. What can I say?
We're
Got my genius helper, you know?
All right,
shall I
question.
call the question? All in favor of adopting a new mission statement which reads that the mission of the Oregon City Public Library shall be to provide the information, inspiration, and ideas that empower, enrich, and educate each resident of our service area.
I
Aye.
Excellent. Now, for the rest of the document, how's that?
I'm assuming, given your cool wordy on the front, this has all been vetted through staff?
Yeah, this is pretty much gone through
Kind of came up
staff,
through
yeah.
staff?
Under collection management, I just, when I was reading
you're
it,
ahead.
page
Okay.
5, was thinking that could say, have some comment about different formats, providing, creating and maintaining an easily accessible collection in various formats or something like that.
I think it's inherent to the statement.
I do too.
I think we're so there that I don't think we need to say it.
No wordsmithing.
I mean, in terms of, you know,
new technologies.
I just, oh, there we go. I was going to say, I needed that one more goal that says move in. There it is, under facilities, year 5.
Well, the way I've always
And we
looked,
could move it up.
the way I've always looked at it is this is a rung this year, and we look at it again, and it's an ongoing thing. So I think as an opening verse to all the things that we have to do in this town or in this service area, that it becomes wordsmithing if you start going through it. I think it looks really good.
I move
I
to
think-
accept it.
Second.
We have
the
a
one thing
motion.
I don't like the format of
We
the
have a
vision.
motion and a second
Okay.
to approve
You're awesome.
the wording of the Oregon City Public Library Strategic Plan. Now we'll have discussion. Thank you.
Yes?
I don't like the format of the vision. I just don't like
3 words.
Well, I don't mind the 3 words. I just the way it looks on the page, and I know there'll be formatting play with that, but vision, what we want to be, seems.
It looks like you.
Periods,
It's just like
dashes,
bullets.
commas.
Yeah, it's just like kind of the ideas on paper.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There's nothing cohesive to me about. I don't disagree with any of it. Just the way it looks.
Saying those words, inviting, innovative, involved. So
like a
just-
colon or some, like,
Oh, yeah.
or a like,
Okay, something separating them.
yeah.
It's
Okay.
incomplete,
Yeah, and
I
then
see.
inviting, innovative, and involved, even if they're on separate lines or somehow spaced out differently.
Okay.
Well, I'll probably need some wordsmithing there, that's true.
Now, Dawn.
Hey,
No,
hey,
that's punctuation.
everybody needs an edit.
That's just punctuation.
That's
Yeah.
punctuation, not words.
Sorry.
Grammar.
Okay,
Yeah,
question?
it's hard to understand.
The question has been called. All in favor of adopting the Oregon City Public Library Strategic Plan for 2013-2018 as amended with further suggestions for punctuation, say aye.
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 Excellent.
And now I'm going to go home and play with Wordles.
They're pretty fun. I have to tell you, I did probably
It's very
waste an hour or two doing it, getting
how
the
this
right
was-
font, and then copying it was a pain. I'll tell you. Okay, now, can I continue, Chair?
You may.
Right.
You have a
Thank you.
collection
They seem to have
development
one more large
policy.
document.
And
This
so-
is kind of a heavy load, you know.
I know it, because, you know, a lot of this stuff has been floating out there for a while, and I was like, closure, we need to
We
get
got
these
that.
things done. So you guys have actually seen this draft. And the reason we didn't adopt it previously was because I think it was a meeting when we didn't have a quorum for like whatever reason.
You're right, yeah.
And so it's been out there, and I really thought that, you know, what's kind of interesting is since we actually had like a collection question recently that kind of gives us some context to talk about this kind of a document, you know? And I thought we all handled that really well, and that worked out great, and we have a happy customer and a probably strong supporter. And this is kind of like behind all that, you know, where we have our professional opinion and we have a lot of respect for the patrons who come in with their concerns and thoughts too. So I would request that you adopt it as is and we can review it regularly, would be my request.
Do I have a motion to
So moved.
adopt the Oregon City Public Library Collection Development Policy of November of 2012?
Oh, I can update that with the date.
Okay, of
Move adoption with
March
today's
of
date.
2013?
I'm the second.
Can we discuss it now?
Yes.
All right, let's say the situation, what we had last month, how you made it clear that you don't always read it, you read the reviews and you don't read every book, of course. And let's say you looked at it and felt, boy, this really isn't the sort of material we want to have, and we took it out of the library. Is that possibility reflected in one of these points here?
I think I would have to look for the specific, but we always have that option. I mean, we're kind of in charge of the collection, so we can take things out for the reasons that we think are appropriate.
Somehow I just don't see that sort of reason listed here.
Okay.
Well, we could stretch the no longer of sufficient interest or
Right.
use to the community.
Right. It seems like it should be there, but it's not exact, that really doesn't
Yeah,
exactly
and
say it.
What would be the exact word to throw in there as the euphemism for?
So,
Appropriate or for
Yeah,
this
see, that's-
community or sufficient,
Then we-
useful, I don't know.
I see your point, but
What, Laura, yeah, in your.
I think you have to be really careful with that.
Uh-huh.
Very.
And I think that when you read the selection material, there's an understanding that there's a process on how you've selected it. That you have the maybe, I don't know.
look at number 2 on page 4. Does that answer your question?
The only problem is that's pretty clear too, that it won't be removed and it has to be a public complaint.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
that's
in-
Well,
for
as,
patrons.
as opposed to the staff deciding what should be on the shelf and not. you know.
Well,
I
the
think-
criteria for removal usually is just there to explain to the public why we read and why
Yeah.
something is removed, because you will get a lot of questions like, why are you getting rid of this bunch of books? These
Right.
are great books. And you can say there are duplicate copies, they're in not good condition, they're historically out of date. So I think a one-off in terms of appropriateness is a little different than what would go under that section of criteria of removal from
How about
collection.
an afterthought, it didn't meet our selection criteria?
That can be too. Like once actually seeing the physical. I mean,
Well, the,
I would be careful putting that in.
right.
Right. I mean, because what you're talking about, that's more factual of, historically accurate, physically damaged, blah, 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 blah. You don't want to start diving into moral issues. Because that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah, and I guess I would probably go back to number 4 on
Yeah.
page 2.
About
That
the
just says, it
literary
meets these basic criteria, and if we decide it doesn't meet that basic criteria for whatever reason, then I think we could just say that.
Yeah. And this is a work in progress, and it has to be adaptable to whatever new they throw at us. I mean, it's an evolving, messy world of books and thoughts and ideas, isn't it?
For the selection of material, use the term usefulness of his resources, and what's no longer useful.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
To who?
I mean, I had a set of Childcraft encyclopedias for a long, long time, and they are very, very out of date. They had sentimental value, but no informational value.
Yeah.
Well, we have a motion and a second to approve this. I suppose with the proviso that it will be a work in progress as we move along.
Tested in the real world.
Does that sound right? Yeah. All in favor of approving the
Yeah.
Oregon City Public Library Collection Development Policy of March 2013 as amended
With the new date.
with the new date, please say aye.
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 Okay.
Passed.
Thank you so much. I think I'm done.
Okay, Friends of the Oregon City Library report.
They're absent and I missed the meeting.
Okay, we'll move on. Library Foundation report.
They're absent and I
They're
don't go to their
absent.
meeting.
We'll move on. Is there any new business? Library board member reports? Our next regular meeting date then is April 10th, 2013, 4:30 in the afternoon in the council chambers right here. And now I think we're going to adjourn the regular meeting and go into executive session. Is that
Right.
correct?
So just go ahead and
Okay.
read that, and then I'll sign it
Today is
off.
March 13th, 2013, and this is the executive session of the library board. It's called to order. President is Chair Don Wright. With me are Vice Chair Laura Ingram, along with Dan Millard, Claire Kellogg, Karen Morey, and Fred's not here, but Director Maureen Cole and Library Manager Linda Ackerson. This session is pursuant to Oregon State Statute 192.610, paragraph 2. And we are meeting to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions.
And you're shut off there?
No.
Oh.
Hold on.
Are we
Right